You know, we've had Brad Meltzer on, of course, New York Times bestselling novelist, and now the host of a new TV show. I don't know how, I'm going to ask him how new it is. It was new to me. We had him on a week or two ago. He's got a new book out called The Inner Circle, which I've been reading, and it's fabulous. If you like suspense and you like codes, and it's got everything. It's got everything. But we have become huge fans of his television show, which is on the History Channel. Brad, welcome back, and how are you?
I'm good, Phil. How you doing? Thanks for having me back.
I'm doing great. Look, the show, you know, I sent you an email yesterday. We have gotten hooked on it in our house. We've gone back into Comcast and watched all of the prior episodes. Did this just start like in December or so? How long has this thing been going on?
Yeah, no. The TV show and the book, you'd think we were geniuses and made them happen together magically. It was just dumb luck. The show started in December. The book came out a week and a half ago, and it was just when the two projects happened to be ready. So Decoded literally came on 7 weeks ago. That was it in December. Yeah,
it's called Brad Meltzer's Decoded, and you got some folks. You got a professor, you've got a lawyer, and you got an engineer, and they go out in the Porsche. They go riding around the countryside, and they try to decode things. And look, some of the things they've come up with, Meriwether Lewis and things. I had no idea about these things. How do you dig these things up?
Yeah, and you said it best right at the start, right? It's called Brad Meltzer's Decoded. That's the greatest title of all time in my house.
Isn't it, though?
I told my wife, I said, honey, what are we having for Brad Meltzer's dinner tonight? Because yesterday we had Brad Meltzer's pasta, and tonight I'd like to have Brad Meltzer's chicken. And she said, you can go sleep on Brad Meltzer's couch. But you know what happened? What happened was the History Channel came to me a couple of years ago, about a year ago, and they had read one of my novels called The Book of Fate, and it was about Freemasons and about the secret codes that Thomas Jefferson used to send with Meriwether Lewis of Lewis and Clark. And they said to me, we want to do a TV show like The Book of Fate, but we want to do it real. They said, give us your 10 best mysteries, and we'll give you a team to solve them. So as you said, every week we go out, and we find, you know, the truth is I've been saving and collecting these mysteries, Phil, for over 12 years. And some of them I usually use in books, and some of them I haven't been able to use in books, and so let's solve them in real life. So the one that you saw about Meriwether Lewis of Lewis and Clark, you know, here's the guy from Lewis and Clark sending secret codes to Thomas Jefferson, and as we started looking into it, we realized, oh my gosh, his suicide might have been a murder, and
it was. I mean, I looked at your show. That's the guy was murdered. That's right, no doubt about it.
There's no one that watched. You know, we recreated the crime. You know, here's a guy who sends secret codes to Thomas Jefferson, then supposedly takes one of those old-fashioned guns and shoots himself in the chest and then in the head, or the head and the chest, whichever the order is, no one knows. Right. And we recreate how he does it, and the fastest that any one of our guys can do it, anyone in the world can do it, is 12 seconds. You got to pour the gunpowder, put the bullet in, cock back the chest. I mean, by the time you're telling me he shot himself in the chest, then he poured the gunpowder, put in the bullet, loaded back, and then shot himself in the head. Anyone with a brain that watched that episode when we recreated the crime said, oh my gosh, you uncovered a murder, and it's amazing.
Oh, I know it, but see, the thing about it is you know, the people a lot of times they like history like it is. They like to believe what they like to believe, and you know the John Wilkes Booth thing, and you know whether he was actually whether he actually died, and you know you guys explored that. You've done some fascinating things on this, and I got to ask you, you know, the three people that are out there doing the actual investigation, because you know you're like Charlie on Charlie's Angels. You know you're the disembodied voice on the speakerphone.
I'm just like Charlie. I'm just like Charlie, except balder and shorter.
And without the chicks, you only got one chick.
I know. We got to get more feathered hair in our team.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, where'd you find these folks, or did they find you, or how did you pick those folks?
You know, what happened was we went through casting. We were very careful about the casting, and you know, we went through and we really wanted to pick people who had different skills than I had. And you know, we picked McKinley because she's an engineer, and sometimes you need, you know, when we were looking for the cornerstone, the very first piece of the White House that was missing, it's nice to have someone who can say, wait a minute, it's made out of granite, and here's the massive granite, so we're looking for something that weighs actually, this isn't 10 pounds and walked away, this is a 3,000-pound thing like a car.
Right.
And so we literally went through hundreds of thousands of tapes that they went through, the casting directors went through, and then they narrowed them for us. And you think it sounds fun, but it's actually really humbling to go through someone's tapes and then make a decision based on just 10 seconds of watching somebody. You feel like you're back in sixth grade judging people. But we got a great team. You know, Buddy's a professor and really understands history, and it's just so likable, so people always talk to him. And Scott's a military reservist, so when it comes to military issues and things like that, he's just really at home. And they really bring, as you said, a Charlie's Angel kind of feel where everyone adds a different part to it.
Now, Buddy, what kind of professor? Is he a history professor?
No, he's actually, of all things, an English professor, but he writes nonfiction history books. So I think he's an English professor with a history professor heart.
Right.
And his newest book is actually about to come out. That's about this great historical trip that went through the Amazon, very famous trip. And what was interesting when we were going through it is how the topics kept coming to us. The one about John Wilkes Booth. I write novels, as you said, and thrillers. And when you write novels and thrillers, people send you crazy stories. And I get an email a couple of years ago from a guy who says that he's the lawyer that's representing John Wilkes Booth's family, who shot Abraham Lincoln, and he says that the family wants to tell a story that they think John Wilkes Booth isn't actually buried in his coffin. Would I like to hear the story? And I find out this story that Americans at one point paid real money to go see John Wilkes Booth's mummified. You say the word John Wilkes Booth and the word mummy in the same sentence, I am listening. Yeah. Right? That is the greatest Abraham Lincoln story of all time, right there.
But what blew my mind about that, Brad, is somebody they took the mummy around on a circus thing, and then somebody lost the mummy.
Not only that, lose it, some guy gave it away. I'm like, they're giving away mummies. Is anyone paying attention here? And my favorite part of that story is that one of the people that they said was John Wilkes Booth. His alias was John B. Wilkes. That's the worst alias of all time if you're John B. Wilkes. Why don't you just call yourself Murderer A. Lincoln? It just was horrible.
Yeah, I'm going to go as an alias as Valentine Phillips. That's going to be mine.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're fooling nobody. But, what was amazing about the episode is I started looking at it and said, this is nonsense. No way. I read all the history books. I read, Manhunt by James Swenson. One of my buddies wrote one of the definitive things about John Wilkes Booth's escape. There's no way he got away. And then you get this 90-year-old woman who's on the episode, and she says, when I was a little girl, my family told me we had a family secret. And the secret was that we were related to John Wilkes Booth, that he never died when they said he did. He actually escaped and lived for years later, and we can never tell the story to anybody. And here's a woman, man, she's not crazy. She's not trying to sell you anything. She's not trying to sell the movie rights. She doesn't want any money. She just is 90 years old and wants the truth out there. And anyone who watched the episode goes, man, I at least want to know what the DNA test says. At least try that.
Well, and they could do that. Why won't they dig up his remains and do the DNA test? Because, as you said in there, they've got part of his spine in a jar in the National Archives. Why can't they just compare the two and see if they're the same guy? Or if not him, dig up his brother, I think you said, right?
Yeah. And we can do it. I think what's funny, Phil, is that when we started the show, they were like, oh, we don't want to set precedent. We don't want to be digging up every dead assassin in the country. They dug up Lee Harvey Oswald a couple years ago, and it gets everyone crazy, starts making new theories. But after the episode of Decoded aired that week, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Boston Globe, they all started writing stories saying, man, this show on History Channel's made some really crazy points that are you got to start looking at. And I just actually spoke to the lawyer, and we're hoping that they are going to dig them up. They're going to go back and show them everything we found, because I think it was again, one of those things where when you look at it with your own eyes and you see the people talking, everyone goes, wait a minute, I got to rethink what I know.
You did one of the episodes on the Knights of the Golden Circle, which was supposedly Confederates who were wanting the South to rise again, and supposedly they stole the gold or hiding the gold that was taken out of Richmond at the fall of the Confederacy. And so I started doing some research after I saw your episode on that. And there's a big claim that they reorganized, guess where, in Nashville, and they buried a lot of the gold near Nashville. So I'm digging around in all my neighbors' yards now. You
better be, because Bob Brewer there, he's from Tennessee. He's digging too. That guy who we had on the show, and he's an amazing guy. I still tease him. I still tease everyone that the moment we left the episode, that Bob went back and dug up the real gold.
That's what I thought. I thought he was not telling you the truth.
He literally looked at us. He was like, "Yeah, guys, I gotta go run. Gotta go pick up my bread from the supermarket." And suddenly he disappears, and we wrap everything up, and suddenly he's got the shovel.
Right.
But he's a real good guy. The nice part about that on that episode we didn't see is Bob was only supposed to be with us actually for a short period of time, and I think he was so fascinated by what he was finding and the secret codes that were built into the trees that you saw on the cemetery. that he said, I'm going to come back and do a little bit more. And we were really lucky to have him. It was amazing to watch him do his magic.
Oh, that was, and I don't know whether it was magic or showmanship or whether the guy really was doing it, but whatever he was doing, he was very convincing about checking those clues out. And the guy with him was, if he's an actor, he ought to get an Oscar.
No, well, I kept saying, as we watched him, I kept saying, I don't know if it's true, but I know that he believes it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, this guy believes that what he sees is true. And the amazing part is it works for him. I mean, he's found thousands and thousands of, all these gold pieces and silver pieces all across the country. And, and in the episode, just to be clear, we didn't tell him where we were going. He didn't know anything. So he starts saying, we're going to see a heart, and there's something in this cemetery that's going to be a heart. We're looking for a heart on a tombstone or on a tree, a heart that's carved somewhere. And we're all going, there's no heart. And then they get the plat, the cemetery, and they unroll this old ancient plat, and you saw what it was. There's a giant heart. The whole cemetery is in the shape of a heart.
Oh, I know. It's amazing.
And we all go, oh, my God. None of us could believe it. We almost had heart attacks right there. We're like, how, that was incredible. So, obviously, it would have been much better if they found the gold, because the show's called Brad Meltzer's Decoded, so my claim is that Brad Meltzer should get the gold. But that was what I was rooting for. But, and the funny part, I watched that episode with my son, and he says, if he finds it, Dad, we get it, right? And I was like, yes, sir, son, we're going to get that for sure.
That's right. And knowing all along they don't find it. Well, look, and of course,
did you see the episode where we did George Washington's Spyring?
The George Washington's what?
His Spyring, the George Washington had his own Spyring, the culprit.
Oh yeah. Well, that was on last week. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, my favorite part of it, that one I love because it ties into my novel, The Inner Circle. And what I love about the episode is you get to see George Washington's Spyring. You get to see the people he used to work with, the invisible ink that they used to move messages with. You get to see the code name that George Washington had. But my favorite part is you actually get to see my new thriller, the novel, The Inner Circle, on television, making it the most gratuitous hour of television of all time.
Well, you said there could be no more product placement except for that Porsche. Which you guys are giving away one of those too. You go to the History Channel website and you can decode through the episodes. Which I noticed that I didn't even know you were doing the contest, and I said they're throwing some codes out there or something. You know what I noticed, Brad, in the episode where in Meriwether Lewis, I noticed the books. I saw the books on the shelf, and I said there are titles missing. What does that mean?
Yeah, we hit a puzzle in every episode, and you got to solve it. And the way I'll give you the hint for it now, when it says Brad Meltzer's Decoded at the beginning, in the O of Decoded, there's a symbol, and if you look at that symbol gives you a hint of what you're looking for. So I think in that one you saw books. You saw a book, right, and that meant look for the books. So in every episode, there's a different hidden code. If you find and break the code, you put all 10 episodes together, and you can win the Porsche that's in the show. They actually will give you the Porsche, which is amazing. And I love it because, again, I know the answer, so I'm going to totally win the Porsche myself.
All right. Well, it all ties into the book. It's brilliant. I know you say that you guys didn't plan it, but you should have planned it that way. It all worked out nice. The Inner Circle, by the way.
Can I tell you what? Let me tell you my favorite part of that joke that you like, where I said, there's no more product placement except for this Porsche.
Right.
The one thing that they cut, and this is my favorite joke of the entire season, is after I say that, they pull out, the camera pulls out, and you see me reading a copy of my own novel, The Inner Circle. And then I look down at the copy, and I go, oh, Meltzer, you've done it again. And it's the funniest moment of all time.
and they cut it out.
And they cut it out. The producers are like, you are not nearly as funny as you think you are, Brad.
Well, you're hilarious through the whole thing. I mean, but your wit is so dry because at the least expecting moment, you throw something out there, a good zinger. But the show is actually fantastic. It's now my new favorite television show, Brad Meltzer's Decoded. It's on Thursday nights on the History Channel, so you can check your. I
really appreciate it.
Well, and look in the book, I'm a third of the way through that, and it's great too. So I wish you the best of luck. Like you need it.
We need it. We just got word that we're going to debut at the #1 spot on the New York Times list, and I said that means one thing: my dad bought a hell of a lot of copies.
Well, you got a great dad. All right, Brad, appreciate it very much. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and check back with us whenever you need to talk about it. I love this kind of stuff.
Appreciate it. Anytime, give me a ring. I'm here for you. I appreciate it.
All right, Brad Meltzer. Brad Meltzer's Decoded, Thursday nights on the History Channel.